Welcome back to Reddit R Us. What's your craziest, but wait, it gets worse story? Story 1. An acquaintance got married in an extravagant $80,000 ceremony and broke up on their honeymoon. But wait, it gets worse. They split because the groom was cheating on the bride with a string of one-night stands. Meanwhile, the bride was having an ongoing affair with the best man. But wait, it gets worse. They pretended to stay married for 6 months after out of shame, but it all came tumbling down when he made a huge Facebook rant calling her a gardening tool and tagging all their friends and family in it with the most dramatic crap storm of a comment section known to humanity. But wait, it gets worse. The bride and the best man decided they wanted to have a baby, and she immediately ran off with him and got knocked up. What a way to get started in today's video. Not 1, but 3, but wait, it gets worse. The couple must have had a lot of relationship issues based on all the cheating that was going on. It makes you question why they even got married in the first place. Not only that, but they dropped $80K on a wedding. That's basically money down the drain now. Story 2. Friend of mine just lost her ex-husband and father of her child to a motorcycle accident. But wait, it gets worse. 15-year-old son had a birthday a few days after the accident. Gift arrived in the mail the day of the birthday. His father had gotten him motorcycle lessons. Just heartbreaking. Ooh, this one hits close to home for me. I got in a motorcycle accident in 2018, breaking my leg and ankle badly. At the hospital, even after the initial surgery, my leg kept having complications that required even more surgeries. It took about 2 months until my body stabilized and I was able to go home. I was lucky enough to make a full recovery, though I do have some wild scars and a titanium rod in my leg now. I'm extremely grateful to be alive because so many others have lost their lives when they got into an accident. To those that ride motorcycles, ride safe, y'all. And to everyone else, thanks for listening to my story. Story 3. I currently live in a 3-bed, 1-bath house. My roommates were getting married and had a bunch of bridesmaids over at the time. A couple of them stayed the night after drinking. I wake up the next morning with a massive poop festering in my stomach. Every move I make, I feel it's just gonna squeeze out. I heard both girls in the bathroom giggling and getting ready, so I panic, grab a roll of toilet paper, and head to a remote part of the backyard. When I went out back, I left the door cracked enough for our Shih Tzu to sneak out. I didn't see him while I was pooping and ran back inside to grab a plastic bag. The girls had just walked into the living room. I chatted them up, avoiding the fact that I had just pooped in the backyard. Finally, they left, and I returned to my poop hole. It was half eaten, and my little old dog was face down in it, slurping it up. Disgusting, right? I had to clean his face off with rags and water and soap. Before I could muster all the items up, he jumped on the back patio furniture and ran his crappy little face through everything. Then he shook as I walked up to him, flinging my own feces every which way. I finally cleaned him and put him inside. I cleaned up the couch pretty quickly, and it being outside furniture, I was able to blast it down with a power hose. Not bad, right? Quick and easy. Nope. I walked back into a monstrosity. Poor guy ate the poop so fast, and it being poop, it didn't settle well. This isn't an exaggeration when I say that I counted 16 different piles of dog vomit feces throughout the house, most of it on the couches. I, for the next 12 hours, cleaned up my own poop turned dog vomit, basking in the smell of horrors for what felt like forever. How OP remained calm when he walked back inside his house after taking a wild dump and started chatting it up with the bridesmaids, I don't know. I would have been paranoid that they could smell the dookie. And poor dog, 16 piles of vomit? I can barely handle throwing up 2 times when I get sick. Story 4. Went to my eye doctor for my annual checkup. He says, there's a spot there that wasn't there last year. You need to go see this specialist. So I did. Then he said, yeah, this looks bad. Go to this other specialist in Miami. I go to Miami. They go, yeah, it's a mole. Don't worry about it. And call us if you notice any changes. But wait, it gets worse. A couple of years later, I go back for another checkup and mention my eyesight got a bit worse. My eye doctor goes, that thing got bigger. Yeah, you should probably go get that thing looked at again. So, back to Miami. Specialist goes, okay, well, it's cancerous now. I need you in surgery next week. I have to figure out how to save your life. A week later, they do a biopsy and find out that my eyesight got worse because it created a cataract. So they fix that too. Then the following week, I go and get a motherfreaking radiation patch attached to my eye for 3 days. But wait, it gets worse. So I think I'm past the worst of it until one morning. I wake up and I've gone completely blind in that eye and I'm in searing pain. Another drive to Miami. The freaking tumor exploded in my eye. Tumor necrosis is the medical term. Very rare complication. They sit me down and go, hey, that eye might have to go. Sorry, dude. But wait, it didn't get worse after that. Thanks to some intensive therapy, I didn't lose the eye. In fact, they were even able to save my vision a few months later with reconstructive surgery. Oh my gosh, I was on the edge of my seat reading that. Thankfully, OP had a happy ending for us because that could have turned out with OP looking like a pirate. Modern day healthcare and medicine is such a blessing. Story 5. I was a manager at a hotel in Oakland. A valet parker took a guest's Corvette out for a joyride. He lost control of the car in a residential area and crashed into a parked car in a driveway. The Corvette and the parked car smashed through the home's garage door and caught on fire. The valet was caught by the police a block away, fleeing on foot with a broken leg. Guys who worked at a mechanic shop in my town were joyriding in a customer's BMW around midnight a couple years ago. Launched themselves off of a roundabout going about 130 miles per hour. Hit the big oak tree in my front yard. The 2 front wheels ripped off the car, shot across my yard, and through my front concrete block wall. The driver was ripped from his seatbelt and ejected into the road. Car landed about 60 feet away outside of my bedroom. Passenger didn't make it at the scene, still strapped in. Driver was barely alive, but also didn't make it pretty quickly thereafter. Landlord wouldn't let me break my lease and refused to fix the hole in the wall because he was too traumatized. Ended up having to pay him to get out of my lease after watching 2 young guys not make it in front of my house. Story 6. Worked in an operating room and was on call. Arriving at the hospital, checked in with the doc and patient in pre-op. At least once per year, we get someone with something stuck in their butt. The young man was there with his mom and sister, who explained the cucumber toy got stuck Friday night, but that their grandma was sick, so they waited until Sunday to bring him to the hospital so he could see her. Then per usual, the family and patient is asked if they have any questions before we take him back. Mom says, yeah, while he's in there, can you test him for STDs? His sister tested positive and was operating the toy, so we want to make sure. First off, why is the sister operating the toy on her brother? Secondly, how did the guy go the whole weekend with that uncomfortable and probably painful sensation in his bum area? So many questions. But hey, at least the family is comfortable with each other. Maybe a little too comfortable. Story 7. Had a tooth pulled. Got dry socket. Finally recovered and had the implant surgery. Got dry socket again. Also found out laughing gas and hydrocodone give me panic attacks. Forgive my ignorance, what is dry socket? When you extract your teeth, there should be a blood clot in the spot they removed. Dry socket is when the blood clot got dislodged and leaves a gaping hole that reaches the bone and nerves. Very, very painful. Story 8. I was in a rush because I woke up late. I then stubbed my toe really badly on the table. I had to rush to the embassy to get my passport done. I almost finished the 3-hour drive to get there when I realized I forgot all the documents I needed for my passport. My friend realized he lost his Chinese visa a few weeks before he was set to go on a business trip the week of Thanksgiving. We were all coming over anyway for Friendsgiving dinner, so we helped him tear up his place looking for it and thought it was so weird because before he moved into his new place, he was nomadic and therefore didn't have a lot of things in the first place. He had to go get another one that costed him $4,000, which I think his company refused to help him pay for. And then he ended up finding it a week before his flight. Story 9. This happened about 10 years ago. My boyfriend called me in the morning and dumped me over the phone. I was really upset and forgot to finish the laundry I'd started, so I had to go into work out of dress code. Of course, that would be the day our district manager was visiting, and I got written up on the spot, even though it was the first time I'd ever been out of dress code. Spent my break crying because the universe was just taking a dump on me. But wait, it gets worse. When I got home that evening, I had a notice of eviction taped to my door because we had apparently been illegally sublet the apartment and had no clue. Didn't even cry because at that point, it was just like, yup, that seems about right for today. Sounds like life. Lots of ups and downs. And sometimes when we're going through the downs, they feel really down. Like the world is just out to get us. To anyone out there who is in this place right now, you're not alone. Just keep pushing forward and do what you can. Try to stack up small victories every day, and eventually they'll add up and change your life for the better. Story 10. When I was 6 years old, the natural gas detector alarm kept going off, so my mom had to call the fire department to check if there was any dangerous natural gas. The fire department came and basically told my mom that her constant farting kept setting it off. Good thing I don't have a natural gas detector alarm in my room. Story 11. Friends of mine were getting married. They were planning a huge, fancy wedding in the major city where they lived. They both had large families and many friends. About a month before the wedding, the groom's mother had a massive heart attack. Miraculously, she somehow survives, but it seems unlikely she'll be able to attend the wedding because it was being held about 1,000 miles away from mom's home. However, she continues to improve and her doctor determines that she will be healthy enough to travel to the wedding by car. So the groom's parents start heading out there about 3 days before the wedding so they can take the trip slowly and get to the major city the day before the wedding. Mom's tired, but doing okay. She decides to skip out on the rehearsal dinner so that she can conserve her energy for the wedding and reception. Mom wakes up the next day, gets dressed, gets her hair and nails done, looks gorgeous. Her husband drives her to the church and gets her settled in the front pew. The wedding is about to start in 15 minutes. Just as the bride is getting ready to walk down the aisle, the mom collapses in the church. An ambulance is called. Groom helps get mom into the ambulance. Dad goes with mom to the hospital with the groom's blessing. Wedding goes on as scheduled about 30 minutes after the initial start time because there are 2 other weddings scheduled at the church that particular day. The wedding ceremony is beautiful. Then there was a gorgeous reception nearby just afterward. The reception is beautiful. And then there was an after party that evening. Also a ton of fun. We find out the next day that the groom's mother had passed in the church and did not make it by the time the ambulance arrived. They made a show of trying to revive her, but she was gone. The groom knew this, but didn't want to ruin his bride's wedding day. He plastered a smile on his face and got through the day. He just told the bride that they were taking his mom to the hospital to stabilize her. He didn't tell her what actually happened until the next day. The whole thing was so crazy, but despite all of it, they're still married 25 years later and have 3 gorgeous kids. So while the wedding was kind of a disaster, the marriage most definitely worked. That must be so bittersweet for the husband. His wedding day is also the day his mother passed away. I commend the husband for being incredibly strong and moving forward with the wedding even after what happened. Story 12. I was stationed in Japan for 3 out of the 6 years I was in the Navy. During that time, I leased a Japanese house, and the shower was its own room. Full walk-in with the tub, bench, etc. I stumble into the shower one morning, still half asleep, and out of my peripherals, I see a black flash from behind me and hear a thud. Look into the tub, and there's a huntsman spider, the size of my hand, staring back at me. Holy cow. My best guess is it was on the wall behind me and got scared when I walked in. So I go into attack mode immediately. Grab the shower head, which was on a hose, take aim, looking to drown this thing in the tub drain. And as soon as I turned the water on, it jumped out of the tub onto the wall and ran into the windowsill. The tactic then became opening the window fast and pinching it to death in the sill. As soon as I touched the glass, it jumped out onto the wall again and ran out the shower door. Now I'm cornered in the shower, peering out into the living room to see the huntsman on the cabinet door waiting for me. Sneak to the front door of the house and grab a flip-flop. Come back to the room and wing the flip-flop at the spider. I hit it, wounded several of the legs, but I didn't kill it. It runs out of the bathroom and underneath the stairs, much slower than it was moving prior. Feeling confident that the spider is cornered under the stairs, I grab a can of bug spray and move in to finish it. Looking closely under the stairs, I see a black tail curled over the back lip of one of the stairs and assume it's the spider hiding on the back of the step. Hit it with the spray. Enter a freaking Mukade centipede. It dropped off the back of the stair and started charging at me, and I immediately peed a little. Front half of its body was up off the floor and its mouth was visibly biting. It backed me up all the way to the front door as I emptied the entire can of bug spray on it. By the time we got to the door, it was obviously overcome by the chemicals and just writhing around. So I grabbed the other flip-flop and smashed it. Didn't work. Hit it a few times and it would not die, so I turned the flip-flop on its edge and used it like a saw to cut the thing in half. Then I remembered the spider. It was still under the stairs, so I blew under there and it ran out wounded, and I smashed it with the flip-flop saw. Then I screamed at the top of my lungs for 30 seconds. The whole battle took probably 3 minutes, but it felt like a freaking lifetime. I think being naked caused an adrenaline rush 1,000 times greater than if I were fully clothed. When I got to work, I was frazzled enough for my coworkers to notice. Can't tell if it was the worst morning of my life or my biggest triumph, but man won that day. Burn it down. Burn it all down. If you're squeamish at all, do not Google huntsman spider or Mukade centipede. I'm warning you now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more crazy Reddit stories.